I had no plan B, honestly. Like I remember the first couple of months in real estate, man, I was not generating any income at all, right? Like there were times when I was like, maybe I should go get a part-time job. But I knew if I go get a part-time job, that part-time job most likely will become a full-time job. And my focus will be lost. I had to make it happen. Like I know there are agents out there that ask me like, hey, what was your business plan in year number one when you started? And to be honest with you guys, I didn't have a business plan. My business plan, I got to make $60,000 that year to cover my bills. That was my business plan. I didn't care how I would do it. I don't care if it's expired listings, open houses, for sale by owners, whatever it is. I had to make money that particular year. I have to figure this out, and that's the mindset that we got to have. For me, the biggest turnoff when it comes to like when that agent is blaming everyone else except himself. He's blaming everybody. His brokerage, his team, the leads, the systems, whatever that is, but himself. At the end of the day, we got to look in the mirror. We got to be responsible for ourselves.
You're listening to the number one real estate podcast in the world, where we talk with real estate professionals all across North America about their wins, losses, lessons, and stories, help you win in your local market today. My name's Cody from Sheridan Street. I'm joined with Vikram Deal of the Real Estate Sales Academy. Vikram, thanks for showing up on time. I appreciate you.
Hey, you're welcome, bro.
Yeah. I appreciate you for showing up on time.
You're welcom.
The last one tells me every day.
The last meeting you started 3 minutes late, so just go yourself. just if you're gonna call a spade, then be careful which glass house you throw the rocks at, because mine's got grenade launchers all around it for you little Canadians.
Okay, well, we're real nice.
Ow.
But Vikram, where were you? Why did you take so long to get into this meeting?
Actually, it was really cool. Like one of my buddies that I did Platinum Partners with a few years ago, he's got this really interesting opportunity where you can put some money into, you're basically digitizing money. So you're taking fiat currency, putting it into digital currencies, and then you're able to take those digital currencies and lock them up. And you're essentially like what the company, and I have to get into it more, but the company is essentially creating like infinite banking / their own little banking system. And it's backed by different assets and people doing different things. So the returns are kind of crazy, obviously high risk, high reward. But you can take money out weekly. It's compounding at like anywhere from 3 to 5%, because you're basically essentially becoming like the bank. So that's how banks make money. They're just crushing it. So this was
not financial advice. I'm going to add that to the disclaimer of this podcast.
I didn't even say anything about any financial advice. I was just talking about what I was doing. So we were jamming about that. What were you doing that you were late for 3 minutes? You stood up a couple minutes ago after our last podcast, and you, I'm just going to leave that alone, but
okay.
It's weird. It was really weird what I saw.
You're something else, but we're having a good day.
No secrets are safe with me.
Yeah, we're having a good day, man. Like things are good. Life is good. Business is good. We're finishing out a really, really solid week, but and
nobody got robbed today yet. That's good.
Yeah, exactly. For those that didn't listen back to the last podcast, I got robbed.
To listen to it. Now they just got to go listen to it.
They got to go listen to it. Well, I'll tell them. I got robbed in Bogota. I got punched in the back of the head, and my phone got stolen last weekend. So I think that this weekend's going to be a little bit more chill. I think
you were coming back from the gym, bro.
I know. I know. It was like, and
we're out partying.
The worst part is it was like happened at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah, I know.
And not only did it happen at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, you were on FaceTime with me, which is like, man.
All I heard was, oh fuck. I heard a shuffle, and then I heard somebody speaking Spanish, and it didn't sound like, I was like, oh, Cody got mugged just now, because I didn't hear a phone hit the ground or anything. I was like, oh shit, Cody just got mugged. And then I instantly got onto like your tracker, and that phone was moving fast.
Oh man. I went into a reflex mode though, and like afterwards I was chatting with a couple of my friends from Colombia, and they're like, man, that was a bad idea that you did. I don't know, I had instant reflex was to grab the guy by the back of the arm and try to grab my phone. So like he's on the motorbike
down that path.
Yeah. He's like getting on the motorbike. I'm like calling him every name in the book, trying to get my phone back, but I didn't get it back, but I bought a new phone, so it's all good. Life is good. We have a
Life is blessed.
speaking of resiliency. Speaking of like, we had a actually really good chat in the green room with our guest here, and I'm really excited to talk today about resiliency, because I think right now, in what's happening more than anything in the marketplace is the more conversations we're having with agents, and me and Vikram in the today we're having this conversation about just it's tough out there, and a lot of agents are struggling. And we have Alan here with us. And why don't you give us kind of a high level whole notes version?
I was a little late, Alan.
Yeah. Of kind of like of kind of who you are, how you got into the industry, and I really do want to dive into your backstory. So I want to give you an opportunity to kind of talk a little bit about kind of what you've created over the last 20 years in the last 10 years in the real estate, but in the last 20 years just in business.
Yeah, man. I mean, so I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for having me. I mean, I'm enjoying our global base. Thank you. So my name is Alan Kushmakov. I entrepreneur, business owner. Been married for 23 and a half years now. I have 3 beautiful kids, an amazing wife that's been with me for 23 and a half years. I think we just got to put a beautiful monument of her, to be honest with you, just being with me and sticking, dealing with all the bullshit that I let her go through. Been in the States for about 33 years. I came to this country back in 1990. Was a former refugee from Soviet Union, and came to this country in 1990 on Christmas Day, actually, and ended up in New York City. The reason we ended up in New York City is because my dad's aunt, she was a sponsor, and that's how we're able to end up in the United States in the first place. With 2 of my siblings, my parents, $550 in our pocket, no English, and it was rough. I remember going to school, getting picked up by kids. I remember for many different things. I mean, didn't speak any English, didn't dress American, didn't look American. I remember at one point, one kid or one student put a stick of deodorant on my desk. Again, being 13 years old, it's so embarrassing at so many different levels, but again, it's just one of those things where, you just have to deal with it, and whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. That kind of cliche-ish a bit, but that's the reality of it. So got a job at age 13. I was handing out flyers for $1.50 an hour, from a card reader, outside of the shopping mall. I was sending out flyers for $1.50 an hour. Whatever money I made, I took it back to my parents. And since then, I always worked. So, we kind of grew up, in need of money, if you will. I mean, but we didn't really feel like we were poor. We always, were able to be fortunate and blessed in terms of what we had. And then, went to college, didn't finish college. I always worked. And then in 2000, I got married. That was 23 and a half years ago. Got a job in a corporate world. Had that job for about 5 years, 6 years. I did software consulting for about 5-6 years. And in 2003, made my journey in Arizona with my wife, and tried to figure out what to do next. With my brother-in-law, we decided to start our own transportation company, luxury transportation business, and grew that company fairly quickly into 40 employees, full-time, part-time employees, close to 30 vehicles, did close to $3 million in revenue. And then, unfortunately, 2007, 2008 happened, the Great Recession, everything pretty much cratered, especially here in Arizona with the real estate market. So our business dropped significantly. We were down by as much as 70, 80% in terms of the revenue. Had to let go a lot of our employees. Half of my cars were repossessed. We were in debt for about $500,000. I lost my investment properties to short sales and foreclosures. I was losing my primary residence while my wife, we were pregnant with our second child, and she was freaking out. She was flipping out. She was very worried. We didn't have a place to stay really after about a week or two. And I sent her to New York to be closer to her family, and I tried to figure things out on my own. And I think that the most difficult part about this whole process was the fact that, she gave birth to our son, Zachary, in New York, and I was not there, and I was not able to go there because I didn't have the money to be there. I was $500,000 in debt. I had creditors calling me left and right. most of my employees are gone. Most of my vehicles are gone. And there were days when I didn't really want to get up, to be honest with you. I wanted to be in a corner and just hiding from everything that was happening. So the choice was either to continue trying to figure things out with the business, pivot, or go get a job. And I decided to pivot and continue working that side of the business. In 2012, I sold that business, took a little sabbatical. And in 2013, I started a real estate career, if you will, got my license. And the first 5 to 6 months were very difficult. I'm sure you guys have, real estate.
Wait, what do you mean? You have all this experience. You're resilient. You're a fighter. You didn't come into real estate after your first few months and just absolutely dominate it like all real estate agents with no experience, no resilience, and no background in. God,
dude, I was
struggled. If you struggled, I can only imagine what most people are going through.
So get this, right? So I read this. I'm sure you guys are familiar with this book, $1 Million Real Estate Agent by Gary Keller.
Yeah,
or the red book they call it. So one of the key takeaways from that book was the fact that like everything starts with the seller leads. When you have sellers, you have buyers, and that's how you get the leverage. So I was like, I got to find sellers. I got to find listings. So I decided to probably work the most difficult lead source that's out there, which are expired and canceled listing. So basically what I did, every morning I would show up in office at 7 o'clock in the morning. At 7:30, 7:45, I would be on the phones and I would be like smiling and dialing for 4, 5, 6, 7 hours a day and getting rejected left and right. And I did that for 6 months, until I got my first listing. Now, during that 6-month period, my dad was diagnosed with cancer. And at that time, he lived in New York with my mom. So I used to travel there quite a bit. Because of all of that, the fact that I was not generating income, my bills alone were close to like $5,500, $6,000 a month. My daycare bill alone, because at that time, 3 kids under age of 5 was $2,100 a month. My mortgage was $2,000 a month. I was not making any money. I was traveling to New York with all the stuff that was happening. You stress, and I was stressing. And then I started having some health issues. I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease called ulcerative colitis. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, but basically,
So I gotta pause you here because there's a lot of people, like Cody and I have talked to a lot of people. One of my clients, I actually gave her the program for free because her family's got all these health issues and just all over the place, right? She couldn't get out of her head though. Like the whole time I was trying to help her, coach her, try to give her a lot. She couldn't get out of her head. Like she couldn't see that there would be a better time, and she forgot that she had come through good times. All she was stuck in was, Vic, you don't know how hard it is. You don't know how. I said, I don't know how hard it is. I do know that if you continuously focusing on how hard it is, it's not going to get easier because your brain's going to find problems. How did you what was like, you're having health issues. You just came out of like this fucked up recession. Your business was lost. Like you lost. What are you thinking? Because I've had tough times. Cody's had tough times. Different, but tough because everybody's toughness is their toughness. So you can't compare. How are you, what are you focusing on at this moment? Like when you're unable to, and I thank you for sharing your stories and being open. Like when you're not able to go see your son being born, you're not there to be with your wife, your family, which is so important to you. It seems like, what are you focusing on to get you out of this and get you up out of bed?
Listen, the focus really is, at least in my situation, were my kids, my wife. They were there. They were supporting me. They were believing in me. They were trusting in everything that I was doing. I had no plan B, honestly. Like I remember the first couple of months in real estate, man, I was not generating any income at all, right? Like there were times when I was like, maybe I should go get a part-time job. But I knew if I go get a part-time job, that part-time job most likely will become a full-time job. And my focus will be lost, right? I had to make it happen. Like I know there are agents out there that ask me like, hey, what was your business plan in year number 1 when you started? And to be honest with you guys, I didn't have a business plan. My business plan, I got to make $60,000 that year to cover my bills. That was my business plan. I didn't care how I would do it. I don't care if it's expired listings, open houses, for sale by owners, whatever it is. I had to make money that particular year.
When did you make so I talk to a lot of people, and I know that Cody has too, but I talk to a lot of people that weren't successful in real estate, and they're like, "Oh, you killed it. I was a realtor once." I said, "Oh, what happened?" "Oh, well, it was so hard." And they always had a plan B. A lot of the people who don't succeed always have a plan B. They always have like, well, I can always go back to my corporate job, or I can always do this, or I can always do that. When you scrapped the idea that you were going to get a part-time job, and you said, I'm only going to, and you said something earlier, you said my only focus was one thing.
Yeah.
Not 1,000 things, one thing, expired listings all day, every day. That's all I'm doing. All you other agents trying to do 14,000 things at one time, shitty, and you can't do one thing good. Like, why are you doing 13 other? So you said a couple things, but like, yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, there are agents, and we have these conversations pretty much every day with an agent. Like, you don't need to have 5 or 6 different lead sources to close like one transaction a month. Like, seriously, like my third year in business, I closed 75 deals, did $22 million with expireds and open houses. That's it.
Yep.
Like, so like, it's doable. I've done it with dealing with all the issues that I had on the side and everything like that. But for me, it's all about like dealing, like the way I was raised, like living in former Soviet Union, dealing with all the bullshit there, coming to United States, at age 13, dealing with all the bullshit, in school, seeing my mom struggling, working 2 jobs, 3 jobs. My dad, after about 6 months when we moved to United States, he was so depressed, he decided to go back to Russia. He was there for 6 years. So we grew up essentially without a dad, 2 of my siblings and me. So I actually had to like take over the parenting responsibilities, and have jobs and provide for my family. So like dealing with that. And then 2007, 2008, as I mentioned to you, man, I was dead broke. I was worse than broke. I owed $500,000 to creditors.
What was the scariest part about all of this? Like,
the scariest part about this whole thing was losing my home. And because we were going through foreclosure galore here in Arizona during that time, getting into a rental property, and then a week or 2 weeks later, finding out that the landlord is behind on the payments and getting foreclosed. And again, we're having a second child, and this is all happening, right? So it really made me tough during that period of time. So when 2013 happened, I was like, okay, you know what? I can deal with it. But then the health issues on top of that, I was like, I got to figure this out. But at the end of the day, nobody really cares. Like, you got to go out there and make it happen, right? And in my situation, it was like, look, I have no choice. I have no plan B. I have 3 kids. I got to figure this out. I got to show up, and I got to do the work. That's what I have to do.
So you obviously, we're chatting in the green room. You have your business. You have a coaching business. We got connected, I think, through Tristan, or I know Tristan. He works on your team. You've been working with him. How, like, this story, like, and thank you for sharing so vulnerably, because a lot of people, I think, go through, or potentially might be going through similar things where they're like, I'm going to have to go back to get a job, or they're at a pivotal moment this year. I'm going to have a lot of conversations where we're halfway through the year. They haven't produced the income they're looking to produce. So people are like, the stats are, I think the stats in the US, 60,000 people have already hung up their license this year. So what are you teaching your team and the people that are surrounded with you? Like, what are some of the requirements that you require in order to potentially join your team? And then what are some of the principles that you are instilling in them? Because it's like, resiliency is one thing, but I'm curious, like, how has that resiliency and the loss essentially fueled you into helping other people? And what does that kind of look like from a team environment?
Yeah. So like you said, I mean, over 60,000 agents did not renew their licenses, and we see this more and more, right? With the turn of the market. I mean, first and foremost, I'm looking for somebody who's going to be truly committed to their craft and to be committed to this business, right? Again, this business is a simple business, as you guys know, but it's not an easy business. If this would be an easy business, every single agent would be killing it. And that's not the case at all. I mean, first and foremost, it's all about the commitment. you're going to go through trials and errors. Like one thing that I mentioned to you guys beforehand is ability to handle pressure, right? Most of the people, unfortunately, and that's not only real estate, but in general, when they encounter pressure, they retreat, and they go back to the same setup or life, if you will, where they were the most comfortable. And typically that's the case of getting a job, a part-time job or a full-time job and getting paid on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. With real estate sales, it's all commission. There's so much uncertainty, right? So that's where I think a lot of agents, they just give up too soon. They cannot handle the pressure, unfortunately. It's like, for example, when I'm talking to an agent about open houses, right? I really truly believe open houses is probably one of the most effective ways of getting business.
So good.
One of the most inexpensive ways of getting business. Every day you have an opportunity to get it in front of potential buyer and seller. It's almost kind of opening up a storefront, right? And you're letting the customer in, right? It teaches you how to really handle objections, asking questions, being in front of them, presenting your value proposition, like teaches you how to really run the comps in the neighborhood. Like open houses is something that I've done and a true believer in that. But here's what the agents do. They do 3 open houses the first week. They don't see that much action. They do 2 open houses the next week. Not really that much action. They do 1 open house the third week, and then they just give up. They give up because they're not seeing the results fast enough. So having patience, having understanding that anything that is worthwhile takes time, right? And understanding the fact that you have to really follow and trust the process and disattach yourself from the outcome. It will take time. Like for me, my first year, my first transaction was a $100,000 listing where I made $2,500 commission. Now that's after 6 months of cold calling, thousands of phone calls, hundreds of conversations, bunch of listing appointments when I was rejected left and right. Finally, I got a $100,000 listing where I felt like it was $1 million listing. But
God, at that point,
it was a win for me. It was a win for me. It gave me confidence, right? I saw the progress and I just doubled down. So by the end of the year, I closed 16 transactions. I doubled it my second year to 35. I doubled it again to 75 my third year. Started generating buyer leads. I was not really enjoying working with the buyers. I always was listing heavy. That's when I started hiring agents. I built a team, had a team for 4 years. And then 3.5 years ago, started my own brokerage. And since then, we hired over 280 agents.
I want to ask the question because I think I know a part of the answer, but I want to hear it from you. All of that hardship you went through when, 10 years ago, and there might still be some collateral damage from it. All of that trauma that you went through, all that challenge, right? Losing everything, owing more, doing this, doing that, all these challenges that you went through. How did that make you a better, not just businessman, but how did it make you a better man and father and person in general? Like, did it have any impact on you personally, like to make you a better person?
Yeah, I think it does. It makes you better in every aspect,
like
your life.
Any examples that you can think of? Because I know how we're going to tie this into business for sure, but how has it made you, like, hardships? A lot of people fold under hardships, unfortunately, but you overcame. You were a victor, not a victim. What has it done for you to have overcome, like just not even quitting on your business? You're like, no, I'm going to figure it out. Like, how did that change who you are as a man 10 years later, if you had to think about it?
Man, I tell you, like, not sweating the small things. Like, there are important things. There are very important things. There are also things that are priceless. So my definition of priceless things is going to be your family, your faith, your health. Those are the 3 things that you just cannot replace. It's hard. Everything else is replaceable. Like, you can make money, you'll lose money, you can make money again. You can buy houses, you can lose houses, you can buy them again. Same thing with the businesses, right? So for me, it's really appreciating the most important or the priceless things in life and not really sweating the things that, honestly speaking, an hour from now or even a month from now, I would not even remember, right? And that's how we have to live. Like, we always gonna have to live, always gonna like appreciate everything that we have. Like, every single morning, like, and I know it's kind of cheesy and everything like that, but the fact that I can get up from bed and I can walk and I can see the sun and I can see the sky and I have the roof over my head and my kids, my wife are healthy. I got a car. I got a business. I got great employees. Man, I'm freaking fortunate. I'm blessed. That was not the case 10 years ago. That was definitely not the case when I was losing everything back in 2008, 2009.
In 2000,
Yeah.
in 2008, did you feel like you were the victim? Did you feel like things were happening to you or for you at that point?
Oh, I think it was definitely more like a victim card initially.
How did you? So, I know that that's common, right? Like, at one minute you're like, fuck, why is this all happening to me? Like, why me? Why me? What did I do? Like, my life's been so challenging already. Why? But
Exactly.
at some point, Alan, you flipped the switch, right? Like in the project with Bedros, they say at some of the guys, they could just never flip the switch. Other guys, they flipped it the minute they walked in. You flipped the switch. How, like, I really want to try to get into your brain about how you flipped your switch, because if we can get more agents right now to flip the switch and just say, like, there is no plan B. I will door knock. I will expire. I will do this for 6 months, even if I get 0 results. And I think Vic's the biggest fucking moron. I'm going to do it because I said I would. How did you flip the switch in your mind? Like, if you go back, and I know it's a long time ago, but like, you flipped the switch.
So for me, again, the biggest thing was the fact that the biggest motivating factor for me was the fact that I was having kids. Like, my wife was pregnant 8 months, 7 months with her son, right? And she was freaking out. She was flipping out. She was in New York, living with her mom and dad. And I was like, I'm a man, I'm a husband, I'm a dad. I'm supposed to provide, and I'm failing. I gotta out of it because there's nobody there to save me. Like, there's no rich dad, there's no rich mom, there's no rich uncle. Like, my own partner, who is my brother-in-law, and I love him dearly. He's an amazing guy. He's still my brother-in-law. He was my partner in my business at that time. Walked into the office, raised the white flag, and said, dude, I'm out. Like, I'm out. I was like, what do you mean you're out? Like, we're collapsing as a business. We owe so much money. Like, he's like, no, I'm done. I'm not only done, I'm selling everything, and I'm moving back to New York. But again, I had no plan. Like, I had to figure this out. And I don't know if it's just a fighter in me, being resilient, just dealing with all the stuff that I was dealing when I was, 11 years old, 12 years old, 13 years old as a kid. Whatever it was, I just said, you know what? If I'm not going to do it, if I'm not going to get myself up, nobody else will. And I can complain all I want. I can blame everyone, the banks, the government, whoever. They're not going to do anything. They're not going to help. I got to figure this out. I have to figure this out, And that's the mindset that we got to have. It's like having conversation with an agent. And for me, the biggest turnoff when it comes to like interviewing an agent, when that agent is blaming everyone else except himself.
Right.
That agent is not taking responsibility for his actions. He's blaming everybody, his brokerage, his team, the leads, the systems, whatever that is, but himself. At the end of the day, we got to look in a mirror. We got to be responsible for ourselves.
When you're speaking with an agent, on your team that maybe you brought in, and in the beginning, they come in and they're gung-ho. They're like, maybe they had a great first year, and in the beginning, they didn't blame themselves. In the beginning, they took responsibility for their actions, but over time they get jaded. The industry jades them. They hear, oh, this person up here has the uptown leads, or there's better leads, or there's better systems, or there's better processes with this team. How do you, maybe we can speak to the team leaders for a second. How do you as a team leader talk to and coach a team? Because I'll give you an example. I was having a conversation with a new team lead the other day, and I'm like, you and one other person on your team is super successful with every live transfer we send you. But you have 3 other agents over here who are blaming the lead, saying, "Oh, we're getting the crappy live transfers." It's like, but no, like those don't exist. And I'm like, you need to have a conversation with so many team leads are afraid to have the tough conversations because they're like, we don't want to rock the boat. I hear that consistently. We don't want to rock the boat, but you have shitty people on your team that are tearing down the morale of everyone else. How do you have a conversation with an underperforming agent to hold them to a high level of standard? Because it sounds like there is a high level of standard based on the resiliency you went through. How do you have those conversations?
It's interesting because my first 2 years as a team leader back in 2016 and 17, I dealt with so much of that. Like I remember my first year as a team leader, I hired 5 agents. By the end of the year, 1 was left. And those 5 agents did 11 transactions combined. I sold personally 87. They did 11. Here I am, like spending my time, energy, resources, sending them leads, and they did 11 transactions. My second year, hired 10 agents, Cody. 3 left. Combined, they did 20 transactions. Again, thousands of dollars of leads going to them, nothing is happening. And here's what I realized. I realized the fact that you cannot motivate people if they're not willing to take action. If they're not willing to do something that they want to do, they're prepared to do themselves, no matter how much you motivate them or try to inspire them, it's not going to work. You as a leader, your job is to create an environment where they can have the opportunities, they can utilize the tools, the resources, the leads, and hopefully their business will flourish. But as far as motivating somebody or making to do someone that's something they're not prepared or willing to do themselves, it's just an exercise of futility. Like it's just not going to happen. And for me, the best way to approach that is continually and constantly and consistently look for the talent. Bring talented people that are really like committed in growing their business versus trying to bring somebody who wants to do 3 deals to sell 15 or 30 deals. It's just not going to happen because they don't want to do it. It's not in their cards.
You know, I was talking with a team leader and I posted something on Facebook and basically the gist was team leaders are responsible for everybody on their team being successful. And she said, well, the agent has a responsibility as well. And I said, no, it's the team leader's responsibility because if you keep an agent on your team that's underperforming because you don't want to have a crucial conversation, it's your responsibility. If they are not the right fit for your team and company, then you got to let them go. And if you're not willing to let them go, then you are assuming the responsibility for that agent.
Right.
And she goes, well, I disagree with you. And I said, why? She said, well, I have agents on my team that I really like. I said, hey, I didn't say you got to kick them out of your life. I just said that they are underperforming, dragging you down. And in sports, what do? They recycle the bottom 20 all the time. And sometimes they'll get rid of a superstar to get 3 up and comings. I was like, so you're just not following the program. And because of that, it's causing you to be stressed out. And that's not fair to you, your team members, or the people on the team. I said, in my opinion, we are responsible for everybody on our team. And the minute we can't deliver to them or the minute they're not giving back to us, we have a responsibility to let them go because maybe going to another pond would be better for them. Thoughts?
Absolutely. We all have standards and we have to be true to our standards.
Yep.
And you don't want to be making exceptions because your team members will see that, right?
Ones are going to leave you because they see you making exceptions for the little ones.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So again, the way to really figure that out, first of all, adhere to your standards and make sure when you set those expectations are met by your team members. The second thing is constantly look to upgrade your team. Always look for the talent. Never stop. The biggest mistake I've made as a team leader is I would bring agents and I stop recruiting. I would bring agents and I would stop recruiting. And guess what happens? Some of them work out. Some of them take forever to work out. Most of them will not, right? So what we have to do as team leaders or broker owners, it's the same thing. We have to be constantly attracting more talent, developing that talent, and then creating the environment where that talent can flourish. Those are the 3 things that we have to do consistently.
Question for you, and I want to close with this because I think this is a great way to close. I was reading in a Facebook group the other day where a lot of people love agents love to rant in Facebook. They love to rant in Facebook groups, and they were ranting about
Alan rolling his eyes.
Full disclosure, guys, I never ever ranted on any of the groups. Never ever did. No, I think it's just a waste of energy.
It's a waste of energy. It's a waste of time. But I like reading it because it gives me insight into their minds. But somebody had said that they were upset because they got 5 recruitment emails within the course of like a couple hours. So how does a team leader, how does a broker owner do recruitment well without pissing off people And maybe the answer is you just have to piss people off along the way. But what does effective recruitment look like to you from somebody that has like attracted some top talent, that holds themselves to a high level standard?
This isn't a question to end the podcast. This is a question to start the podcast.
Yeah, right. But like
this is Alan inviting himself to another to be
exactly
first time second guest.
Part 2. But how does a broker owner or team lead attract top talent?
Well, I think first and foremost, you got to figure out who's your ideal agent profile. Like for example, in our brokerage, we have 3. We have independent agents. These are producing agents or top producing agents. Interdependent. These are experienced, but they're looking for consistency. Somewhat maybe struggling agents. And then dependent. These are brand new agents, right? And for every agent category, we have a unique offer that really resonates with that category, right? So that's one thing as a team leader or broker owner is like, hey, who's my agent? Right? And what is my message to that agent? Because a lot of times we have so many tools and so many resources and we say so many different things, but most of the time it will not resonate with the type of agent that you want to attract. So that's the first thing. The second thing is you got to figure out what method you want to use to attract and recruit agents. For us, for example, in the last 3.5 years, we've been super successful in recruiting agents through Indeed. These are newer agents, even struggling agents, probably over 180 agents that we brought in are through Indeed. And we have the entire funnel set up for that alone. We love that. So basically, they're raising their hand versus us doing the cold outreach. The second recruiting method that works for us the best when it comes to experienced agents and producing agents are events. So we do events every single month. We do lunch, learn, and grows. We do masterminds every quarter where we invite other speakers, other panelists to attend. And we usually bring anywhere between 3 to 5 agents that way on a monthly basis. And the third one is the referrals. Agent referrals, sponsors. We do have a revenue share within our brokerage, but those are the 3 that we usually use. Is there a cold outreach like me DMing or calling some producing agents, top producing agents? Absolutely. I do that. I mean, I build my business in cold calling expireds and cancels. I can do it. I just do not enjoy doing that every single day. It can be very grinding. And I think there's just another way of doing this. It's more about attracting agents versus, like hounding them or chasing them or trying to call them every single time. That is my
there's a few things, and I know we have to wrap up here because you got to go, Vic. But I love the strategic thinking in the different niches that you essentially work in. Like it's almost like a sub niche. Like there's always niches within niches, and that's what we encourage our agents to think about when they're trying to attract home buyers. There's different types of niches. And me and Vic have had this conversation in the past.
Have an avatar.
Yeah, have an avatar. Like when you were in Bellevue, you worked with a ton of tech people. That's an avatar. You're on a tech people.
Talk about my tech people. Number one.
But Alan, I want to say thank you, bottom of my heart, for sharing your story. And then after that, can have me back for sure. And I also just want to say thank you for not just sharing your story, but also sharing the tactics of what's working around recruitment and what's working around team building. Super, super valuable episode today. Anyone listening back on iTunes and Spotify or on YouTube, rewind this. And especially the if you're looking to recruit at a high level and you're a broker owner, genius ideas around Indeed. If somebody would want to reach out to you and they want to have a conversation about maybe joining your brokerage, maybe it's agent referral, where's the best place that we can direct them to have a conversation with you?
On Facebook, it's my name, Alan Kushmakov. Same thing on Instagram, Alan Kushmakov. Couple of different websites, becomebestbrokerage.com. That's our education and coaching company. Our brokerage website is besthomesrealestate.com. And our group is Become Best Brokerage as well on Facebook. So, pretty much everywhere.
Everywhere. Just find them online. Hey, I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to the bottom of my heart. Thank you for sharing with us. And I want to say thank you for tuning into another episode of the Origin Podcast. We'll see you soon.